Welcome to the McCombs Wellness Collective podcast, where we aim to improve overall health and wellness of the UT McCombs MBA community through promoting healthy habits and sharing personal wellness stories. Many stressors can emerge during an MBA, and we hope that this podcast will help you prioritize your health during your time at McCombs and onward through the rest of your life. We are back in another week for the Wellness Collective podcast. I'm here with Mayukha. She is a MBA student, first year, coming from India. Spent 26 years in India, was working for Uber over there, and is now getting her MBA. So thanks so much for coming on the pod, Mayukha.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for your insight because there's a lot of international students.
Yeah.
And I think that is got to be a particular challenge. But first off, I wanted to go more about yourself, like where you're from and why McCombs.
Oh, feels like an interview. But yeah, sure. So like you said, I spent 26 years in India. And, when I was, trying to figure out where my goals are at, well, I was working at Uber. And after that, I worked at a couple of startups as well. I kind of started feeling like I need to kind of take my life to the next level. Not just in terms of doing an MBA, earning more money, just in terms of experiences and putting myself out there, finding new people, kind of broadening my horizon. And that's when really the MBA became like a no-brainer. So I was like, should I do it in India or should I go to a different country? And I did apply to a couple of places in India. But just when I got into McCombs and I started interacting with a couple of people in the second year right now who are in second year, I just felt like, these people are really warm, which is something that I really need, like that kind of warmth around me. And the MBAs in India can get quite competitive and the environment might not be as, warm as here. So I just felt like, got to take my chances. It was a risky move for sure because home is home. So, but I don't have any regrets. I think McCombs was a great choice for me. I fit well, I think, with how our school runs and works. And I really enjoyed my first semester, even though it was like hell. In terms of recruiting and all of the settling in, moving in, everything was really hard. But I think that was a given. So I was prepared for that.
Did you have any idea what industry you wanted to go into?
No.
Prior to McCombs? So
I came in and I was telling people, I want to do marketing, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm like an explorer basically. And then I quickly realized, as an international, the choices are lesser, of course. The company has to sponsor you. So I was like, let me maximize my chances. And that's when I started recruiting for consulting as well as tech roles. So I think kind of worked out with consulting. I'm happy with that as well. But it was not something I was ready for, I would say. It took me all of August to, kind of figure out that it's not really about what, kind of keeping your mind open. That's really what it's about. And I think after that, I had a lot of friends that I was able to make here who really supported, I think, emotionally and even with where do you apply, what do you spend time on. I think second years here are a big resource. So all of that helped a lot. And overall, even though, of course, I'm kind of leaving behind your own country and moving to a country is something that really challenges you, pushes you to no end. I think I learned a lot over the last 6-7 months.
Yeah, well, definitely congrats on your consulting internship. That's a big deal. I know it was a tough recruiting season.
It was a tough season. It was a tough season. I think, for internationals especially, things were slow, super slow. So to all my friends out there who are still recruiting, I really wish them all the luck because it's I know it's intense, but they're going to get there. Yeah,
it's a grind, but it is one step at a time, I guess.
Of course.
You were talking about the challenges of coming over from India. What are some of those challenges you think that a lot of international students face adjusting to the new culture and new lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, so the one thing that I think every single person who moved to America experiences is just a drastic change in culture. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, even though everybody knows English, right? I think it's just not the same communicating with somebody who's from America with our level of English. It's just the way we talk is obviously different from the way locals talk here. So that communication is not like the smoothest. So that's the second challenge. So I think for the first one, culturally, I think the best part about America is that people are just like, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to let you do your own thing. And I think that's really, really good here. Like, people know their boundaries. People know, how to prioritize themselves. And that allows, I think, internationals to integrate fast. Because it's like, okay, I can learn quickly. I can integrate fast. I think that's the best part about being here. It's just like the amount of freedom you have to figure your own thing out. So even though the cultural difference is vast, it's easier to get into that grind. For the second part, I think language is just something you got to acquire over time. So that was just, I think it's still a process. Like, it'll take a while to get there. I think for me, because I used to consume like so much, kind of Western literature, movies and music, I've always been able to grasp that. But I definitely would not say that's the consummate international experience. So it's definitely a challenge.
Especially in Texas, we have our own language
that's
here
so
as well.
True. There's a different lingo for sure. So settling into that will take time. It did take time, I think. The best part about, I think, my friends who are international is that everyone knows what they signed up for, right? Like, they have that awareness. So they know that no matter what, there's a challenge and they have to conquer that. So I think a lot of people are really smart about it.
Yeah. What are some of the best resources for maybe some new international students that are be coming here next year that they can reach out to kind of help them get situated and ready to go for the semester?
That's a great question. I think, for me, what was really helpful, and I think for any incoming student, what would be helpful is second years. Just, I know that, of course, people are different. I'm different. Another person's opinion might be different. Keeping that aside, just the amount of knowledge that you gain in the first 1 year of the MBA that you can give others is incredible. So I think any international student who comes in should lean on the international community here that's already gone through the same steps. And just basically be open to getting feedback and being more receptive than they would be in their home countries. Just like, okay, you got to make your, the first 2-3 months is actually the biggest challenge. So I would say, like, keep an open mind, be on your toes. I think those apply to everybody, but more so for internationals, because in a lot of Eastern communities, there's no such thing as like networking for a job. It's not like, go out, talk to 10 people so that they know who you are and then you go to the interview. It's definitely not like that. It's like, my resume speaks for me in most Eastern countries. So that's a huge challenge, a huge boundary that international students have to kind of cross. So I would say that having that mindset from before you come here, having like a little bit of research done on how American recruiting works would be the best move. And when it comes to like taking care of yourself and like kind of adjusting to how it is here, food is different, of course. I think starting slow, kind of having food that you would have in India or whichever country you're from, kind of cooking at home, it takes time. So not to put a lot of pressure on your body, just eat what is available. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a big advice, because a lot of us, we want to eat what we were used to for 26 whatever years, right? But then I think that's not the best move in the beginning. Just eat what's there and then slowly try to build your environment around the habits you actually want to develop. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Have you found good Indian food around here, or even like Indian markets that make your own?
Yeah. I think Austin is like, it has like an abundance of at least grocery stores, which you can just go and buy whatever you want, and you can make a lot of authentic Indian food at home. Other than that, there are a couple of really good places which have biryanis and South Indian food. So there are some good places. I can send you some recommendations.
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe during the holy, or is that how you say it? Holy celebration?
Holy. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some good,
oh my gosh,
good Indian food.
People are going to be like blown away. It's going to be so amazing. The food, like, it's going to be authentic South and North Indian food. So it's like diversity, and it's going to be amazing.
It's awesome.
Spicy. So
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, you got to be ready for it.
Yeah. When did you get to Texas? Did you have kind of a buffer before the semester started and everything just started flowing?
Yeah, so I think I have some luck in that I have two uncles who are in Texas. So like I came a couple of weeks ahead of the course start, and I got to like settle in a little bit. I wouldn't say I settled in like even 10% of what is the minimum requirement of being settled in, but I think I had a better start just because I had some family here, and that homesickness doesn't hit you when you're with remotely any close family, right? So I had some cushion. And then once the course started, I'm not kidding, I was so homesick for a couple of weeks. I was like looking up flight tickets back to India. I was like, okay, if I haven't signed the full offer yet, I haven't paid the dues yet, so I'm just gonna go back. But I did settle in after that. Again, I think McCombs does a great job of just being super welcoming. So it was never a problem of like integrating or settling in. It was a very comfortable transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about when the first few months, just the pure number of events and commitments and having to choose where to go, was that overwhelming, and were you checking flights again?
Well, I wasn't checking flights after that because it got expensive.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. But no, I think it's really about finding the right people for me that are around me. So even though there were networking sessions every other day, info sessions, you name it, and the the workload is really heavy in the first semester. So despite all of that, I think having a good set of people around me, being someone who was kind of like able to say, you know what, I need to get myself out there and put myself out there and challenge myself with this. That helped, like the two ways of that, like just getting that help and also being receptive. So for the first 3 months, it was so rough in terms of just even understanding, I really couldn't understand the why of networking. I think I complained to a couple of seniors. I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, why am I spending my time getting to know like these people from these different companies? What's the purpose, right? And they just told me it's a process. It's the established process. Don't question it, basically. But beyond that, I think it's more about really understanding whether you want to be there. Do you want to be at that company? Do you want to even spend your time with the people from that company? I think that's a good way to look at it. So I kind of explained myself the why, and I think it got easier after that. Yeah.
Is there any way to practice it, or any tips? Is it something you just got to do and it gets more natural over time?
I just feel like the first question is, do you want to do it? Like, a lot of people don't want to do networking. And I think you have to eliminate for yourself if that's something you like. And if you don't like it, the second question you ask yourself is, are you willing to put up with it? And if the answer to both of those is no, then automatic checkout, right? Just leave.
Yeah.
Not worth your time. Don't do it. You're not going to have a happy time. But if even one of those, your answer is, 5% yes, I think you can then like start kind of practicing with your friends or like just your seniors. How do you want to talk about yourself? There's also I think great resources at McCombs just for communication for internationals. Communication coaches help me a lot in terms of, why is it different here, and how do I change the way or kind of modify the way I have my body language or things like that, which are very subtle, but in the long run make a lot of difference. So I think it's just about kind of finding those resources and having consistency with them. Without consistency, this game can't be won, I would say, first year recruiting.
Yeah, it's so cool that you're highlighting all the classmates in the second years that have helped you, and whereas in India, those universities, you didn't get that same vibe that maybe not everyone was there to see you thrive and grow.
Yeah.
Is that pretty consistent? Like growing up, I hear in school in India, it can be super competitive. And what are your thoughts on like the healthiness of that?
Well, I would say that people help out a lot. People are very willing to help out. But it's just, there's so many of us vying for the same thing. And even from when you're young, there are a couple of competitive exams that you write, like SAT, which when you graduate out of 11th grade, you take it, and that basically decides the rest of your career. So there's like hundreds and thousands of us, and there's only basically around, let's say, 500 seats, 500 places, 500 positions in different colleges. So it's obviously super competitive. It's not even the top 1%. It's the top 0.001% who end up in those places. So you do grow up in like a very competitive, kind of edgy environment. But that's not to take away from the level of bonds we are able to make. I think because all of us are going through the same really intense situation during these times, we are all able to connect like really well. And it's kind of like trauma bonding, but I would say trauma bonding that lasts your whole life. Some of my best friends are from that stage of my life. So I wouldn't say that people are not willing to support you. It's just a lot harder to get to where you want to get because there's just so much competition. So you might be the most deserving person, but there's someone who's even more deserving than you at any point. And it's not like saying I'm not good for this. It's just saying those are the statistics. So I think that is one reason a lot of people try to look for opportunities outside. And not just that, I think some of the programs outside of India have a completely different curriculum. So like the way the entire course is set up, especially for the MBA, is just very different. And the way you interact with people is also very different, I would say. Some of the courses in India last a shorter amount of time, which is also like a detractor from, the attractiveness of the course. You have shorter time to figure out your entire experience. So I would say a lot of factors go into this, but yeah, it's a competitive place, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it seems like you have a very healthy mindset towards it and understanding that failure isn't like the end of the road. Like there's way more life to be lived. What are your thoughts on just health, wellness, mindset in general, and what has kind of got you through to this point?
Well, let me start off by saying I wasn't always like that, like able to take failure at like face value and just say, you know what, that's not on me. It's just the situation. It took me a long time. I think at one point when I was trying to apply to MBA schools, some of my friends know this already, I was like, I gotta get into the top 5. Otherwise, I'm not going to be happy ever again. And I think that was not a good place to be at. I spoke to, my grandmother. She's like my life coach, basically. And she was like, I think she basically said to me, you have to accept that at any given stage of your life, there's probably an upper limit you can hit in terms of success. And that's not a bad thing. You can achieve a lot, but sometimes maybe achieving that N+1 level is not what you really want. Maybe after you get there, you're like, why did I do this? Why did I spend so much time? It would have been the same if I was at this level right below, right? So I think that competitiveness was not healthy for me. And so once I got out of that, I really got into touch with myself, my goals, how I want to be in my life, which is basically like, I think to your question about wellness, I think it's just about being in total balance with your body, your mind, your soul, your environment, the people around you, your family. I think that is what wellness is. Just knowing that, these are my boundaries, these are my priorities, and these are my necessities. Knowing the balance between those three as well. It's just about creating that recipe for that is what wellness is to me.
That's so cool. You could formulate that for yourself. And it reminds me of, I know we were talking about this before, Gary Vaynerchuk, the guy that kind of inspired me with the podcast. He talks about how everyone should just go to a nursing home and just talk to all the people there. Like the people that have lived life, and they can reflect back and they have some of this insight that most people just themselves might not come to. So that's so cool that talking to your grandma that you can take that.
Yeah. My grandmother is like, she has a PhD in English literature, and she's just one of the most amazing people I know. She actually told me where to get one of my tattoos and what to get also. So she's like next level. And yeah, I think like she's the one who taught me, right, that you basically have to be really in touch with your surroundings and your current life, not what you want in the future, not what you want in your past, but like right now, this day, and basically reflect on what you did every single day, but not in a negative way. Just like accept that you did some things, it's fine. You might not be the most perfect human on the planet, and no one's asking you to be that.
Yeah.
No one's asking you to be like Mayukha all-star level. You can be like Mayukha medium star level. So I think she really taught me that, you just have to take it one step at a time.
Yeah, that's awesome. How is it being away from all your family that you're used to being close to?
Well, I actually took a trip to India a couple of weeks ago, which was really good and bad at the same time, because it's like leaving is hard. But to be honest, I found such amazing people here as well that it balances. Like I speak to my family quite often, almost every day, and I have like such amazing experiences here that it's kind of like best of both worlds at this point. And I know that my family supports me through this whole process, and they want to see me succeed, and they want me to be proud of myself. They actually don't really care what I do.
That's awesome.
They just want me to be happy, which is a lot of pressure if you think about it. No, I'm joking.
No, that's so huge. And technology too, I bet, makes that a lot easier.
Oh,
can you like
absolutely.
FaceTime them and all that? And
Yeah.
And then, so in general, going through your day-to-day here at McCombs, how do you stay healthy? Like, are you an exerciser? Do you like to do exercise? Do you try to eat well? Is that important to you? Or is it more a just mindset over everything else?
Well, I would say that I really want to exercise again. I used to exercise quite often in India, like at least 3-4 times a week. Here, it was like really hard to set my schedule to the whole recruiting season and then fall out of it. And then now it's like somewhere in the middle. So I really, really want to exercise again. But beyond that, what I eat is very important to me. Back in India, I used to eat at 12:30 my lunch, 6 o'clock my dinner, and then nothing else beyond that. So it was like super healthy schedule, and I want that again. I know that's asking too much of myself in this environment, so I'm not doing that.
Just because of the class schedules, the events, and all that.
Yeah, exactly. I can't really go home and like cook up a meal in like 30 minutes and be satisfied with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of settle for cooking like a happy meal. And I kind of have a system with some of my friends who live with me where we have like a circular system. Someone cooks someday and someone cooks the other day. And we all like enjoy Indian food basically. So I think it's always like Indian food almost every day. So it's very healthy, and we try that to keep it healthy. Sometimes I indulge a little bit in a sweet or two. But for me, it's like 80-20 ratio. I can control 80, and even if I can control the 20, I'm not going to try.
There's too much good food in the world.
Exactly.
Why restrict yourself?
Exactly. And I mean, all the Dominoes in the first semester killed me. So
every event.
Every event.
I guess because it's right across the street.
Exactly.
That's what people go to.
Yeah, it's just easy. So, but that's what I mean. I didn't fight that. And I feel like no one should. Just have what you can, because what do you want to prioritize? Some time to yourself, or just spending an hour cooking, right?
Yeah. Well, that's cool that you have roommates that you guys kind of all cook together. How did you guys become roommates? Is there a process?
It just
is it
happened.
Like random?
It was random. It was random. So
because
it's people from the MBA. All of my best friends from the MBA basically, and we all kind of ended up in the same building, and we just have like a pretty good system where we support each other that way. So
are they international students as well, or is
Yeah, all of them are international students, and all of them basically went through the same journey in the first semester. So I think we fell into a rhythm there, which is very comfortable for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There definitely is, like you're saying, the shared struggle. There's something nice about that.
There is. No, absolutely. I know that, if I talk to one of my friends, they're going to know exactly what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was really... I think comfortable to like be able to communicate without any pushback on what I'm experiencing. Yeah. Just say this is what I'm going through, and then the other person is like, yeah, I know I'm going through the same thing. So it was amazing that way.
No, it's so good, Mayukha. And
Yeah.
thanks so much for sharing your insight
Thank you
and
so
your
much.
story. Is there any final wellness takeaways you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah. Final takeaways, I would say just what I was kind of saying earlier. Balance. I know it's hard. The 80-20 ratio is really my golden principle for my life. You can't control 80. In the 20, you can control, only try to control 80. So leave that 20 or the 20 for the universe to decide what to do with. And I think you'll be a little bit of a happier person.
Well, I love it. And that concludes the podcast.
Thank you.
See ya. Thank you for listening to the McCombs Wellness Collective podcast, where we record weekly episodes during the semester to promote healthy habits and learn about personal wellness journeys. Stay well, my friends, and hook 'em horns.